Hello, my name is Lauren Frank. My book was The Extraordinary Leader by John Zenger and Joseph Folkman. Their goal was to create a model on what leadership is and a guide on how to be not just a good leader, but a great one. They came up with 20 insights in the book and 20 main ideas that they had proved or disproved. The book was set up really well. It was super easy to read. I loved all the information in it. It was kind of new information, which was surprising because I've read a lot of leadership books, and usually you hear the same thing over and over again. And it was very, very research-backed. They had a ton of graphs, but they explained everything so well that I didn't have trouble reading it or anything. So to start off, I could go through 20 insights, but we only have 10 minutes, and that is definitely not enough time. So I'm going to start off with the character blocks that they had built, or they had constructed this idea. So most people come up with the idea of building blocks, and they use a mattress as an example, or they use like a triangle. But these guys decided that leadership isn't like either of those things. It's more of a tent. And so the tent poles would represent the qualities. So the middle tent pole would be character. The outside ones would be personal capabilities, focus on results, interpersonal results, and leading organizational change. And they found that leaders excel not just if they have one tent pole that is the best, but when they have multiple tent poles that are equal. So if you think of a tent, you're raising a tent, you've got one really low one in the corner, and maybe like 3 outside ones are really low, and one in the middle, the character one's high, and say the focusing on results is really high. Your tent's kind of lopsided, it doesn't stand up very well. But if you raise them all up to the same level, you're actually going to be not just a good leader, but a great leader. So good leaders have one outstanding tent pole, one outstanding quality that everyone sees, and the rest might be lower or might be considered flaws. However, great leaders don't necessarily have that. They have more equal. They have a combination of these building blocks. Their combination has been specified to their organization, and it helps elevate them in that organization. And actually, in one of their studies, they found out that extraordinary leaders in one organization, most of the time, like 9 times out of 10, if they go to another organization, they actually fail as an extraordinary leader because their leadership at their old job was built around the qualities that job needed. And when they moved jobs, the extraordinary qualities they developed weren't applicable to that new job, which I thought was kind of interesting. So those 5 categories actually have 16 subcategories. I'm going to go over them really quickly. So under character, displaying high integrity and honesty. Under personal capability, you have technical and professional expertise, solving problems and analyzing issues, innovation, practicing self-development, and focusing on results. You obviously have focusing on results, establishing stretch goals, taking responsibility for outcome and initiative. Under interpersonal skills, you have communicating powerfully, inspiring and motivating, building relationships, developing others, collaboration and teamwork. And under leading organizational change, you have developing strategic perspectives, championing change, connecting internal groups with the outside world. Those are the 16 main ones they have. And they found that when you have more leaders that are elevated into extraordinary, that use all 16 of those, it's actually better for the company than having an average of good leaders. So if you have a bunch of leaders and you only consider them good or bad, it's actually detrimental to your company's health or your company's organizational health. It's better to think of good, bad, and great, because if you have a bunch of bad leaders and elevate them to good, that doesn't make up for the difference between a good leader and a great leader. So the more great leaders you have is way better than just having a bunch of average leaders that are just good. They they found out, well, I guess it isn't like a big surprise, but effective leadership is obviously complex and very diverse. If you take a look at our military and look up any military personnel, military leaders that we've had throughout history, you'll actually notice that they are extremely, extremely different. They might be like really closed off, or they might be really personal, might be really flamboyant, or thoughtful, or considered lone rangers. And it's kind of incredible to see that we've had so much luck with them, but they've all had different ways of handling it, of handling leadership and being extraordinary leaders. So the object of training your weaknesses and strengths, you want to have most of your strengths even, but you don't want to have not flaws. You don't want to be perfect. You want to have a solid set of strengths that are more like just really strong and stand out. They showed that when leaders don't possess severe weaknesses, they're not really seen as great. When they don't have a great weakness and no huge strengths, you're just kind of seen as average. So if you're lying in the middle, I mean, you're not really standing out. So they did a study on organization and found out that they had a few bad managers, and their poor performance wasn't from having this 2 or 3 bad managers. It was having an extreme number of average managers. And if once they got everyone up to skill and had some extraordinary leaders made, the company actually elevated in performance. Particular flaws in the character section obviously is not something that is seen as like something you don't have to fix. So I just talked about strengths being really solidified and not having to worry about your weaknesses as much. However, character flaws are huge fatal flaws. So great leaders do not have the inability to learn from mistakes. They don't have poor interpersonal skills or unwillingness to accept ideas. They do not have a lack of accountability or a lack of initiative. Character flaws, who you are as a person, your integrity is extremely important to being a great leader. So if that middle tent pole is not, that's why it's in the middle. If it's not steady and solid, then there's no way that you could be a great leader. And recognizing that you have any character flaws and working on those is a part of self-development. All great leaders focus on self-development. And I'm not just saying like writing them down at New Year's and saying I'm gonna write 3 good things every day. It's not just writing it down on paper, but doing it every day and being proactive about it leads to great leadership. One other thing that I really liked about this was that they had this idea that most leadership development activities set the bar too low. So I've gone to a lot of leadership classes and read a lot of leadership books, and they tell you basic leadership things. And in this book, it kind of talks about how that's not encouraging growth. So you can read all the books you need to. If they're telling you the exact same thing, you're not really getting anywhere. So you need to find something that's going to elevate you into being a great leader, like this book. Too much focus is being turned from a bad leader to a good leader, that people who are good leaders tend to just coast. And it's important that you always keep reaching and set the bar higher for yourself. So if you get complacent and you see that you tested, oh, you're a good leader on a self-assessment test, that's still not where you want to be. You still need to grow. You still need to reach to be that extraordinary leader. Now, if you're a bad leader, obviously you need to work on being a good leader. But definitely, if you get good scores on stuff, that's still not where you want to be. You want to be the best you can be and help change the organization that you're in. So that's all I have for you. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you read this book because I thought it was really cool.